Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And the final stretch of January has honestly kind of been crazy. I was just kind of looking through some of the games that's released over the last week or so, and I mean, it's just kind of like, wow, it's just one game after another. Of course, yesterday, Hi-Fi Rush just dropped out of nowhere, and that game has just kind of taken the gaming world by storm. Yeah, we'll talk about that a little later on today, but there's been a lot of games backloaded this month, though February is looking really good as well, and that also includes Xbox Game Pass. They did just reveal 10 more games, some for this month and some for next as well, including a major day one release that's been highly anticipated for quite some time. We did get a release date on that game, finally. So we're gonna get into all that today, plus plenty more. To start things off though, as I just said, the final stretch of January has honestly been absolutely crazy with game releases, and that includes debatably this year's biggest release thus far being Dead Space Remake. Of course, last month we got the Callisto Protocol, which was meant to be its spiritual successor and everything, and whether or not that game met your expectations, it was kind of a polarizing release, so that all just kind of depends on the individual, but one way or the other. Just 1 month later, on January 27th, we get the Dead Space Remake as well. Yeah, the Dead Space community is live and kicking right now. A lot to look forward to, a lot to play. And here's the good news. According to critics, the Dead Space remake is better than ever. Reviews have been rolling out today, and as of this recording, it sits at an 89 overall score on Metacritic, which is actually the exact same score as the original PS360 release. On the Xbox 360, it did also receive an 89 overall score. Looking through some of the reviews, though, critics are describing the remake as everything that they remembered and loved about it, but it's even better with some of the improvements that they have made. Now, we've kind of talked about this before, but I do feel like horror games in specific heavily benefit from the remake treatment, and the reason I say that is because atmosphere is just so important to this genre. So just from a technological standpoint alone, the Dead Space remake really seems to take its ominous and creepy atmosphere to just a whole new level. On top of that though, and this leans into why critics are saying this is an even better game this time around, they did improve on other things as well. I saw some reviewers mention the story is better this time around, with Isaac being a vocal character, and it just sounds like there's quality of life improvements across the board, including with the upgrade system, how you find weapons, and even just changing some of the level design to get rid of some of those segments that was a little less liked. All in all, though, it sounds like it's one of the better remakes available, and I mean, whether you've played the original or not, the remake sounds just as fans have always kind of described. One of the best horror games ever made. Now we just kind of got to see if it can be a success, and hey, if it is, maybe it can do a little bit more with this IP. I guess we'll see going forward. Now, speaking of big releases, Hogwarts Legacy is almost upon us. That is slated for a February 10th release, and the more I hear about this game, the more I kind of realize just how much of a dream game this is for Harry Potter fans. You know, in a lot of ways, they're bringing Hogwarts to life by allowing fans to experience its school setting in a big open-world RPG. It allows them to explore beloved locations that they've seen in movies or heard about in books. And now, for the first time, fans will also be able to create their own legacy within the Harry Potter universe, and that includes making your own decisions which will impact the story. Well, they touched up on that last part there, and apparently not only can you impact the story by doing its main missions, but on top of that, they also said that Hogwarts Legacy has over 100 side quests that can impact the main story as well. Now, it appears that there's no linearity to these quests, so don't worry about anything like that. You can just kind of partake in them whenever. But based on what they're saying, what you do outside of class, and based on who you interact with, can in return manipulate the main story. Again, this game sounds pretty ambitious. I mean, by all indications, it will have a massive launch. I mean, we've seen it just kind of topping the charts on Xbox, PlayStation, and Steam. But if it ends up reviewing well, I mean, we might be looking at one of 2023's biggest games, just period. Let's go and talk about Xbox, though, because they've had a very busy 24 hours with their Xbox Developer Direct. But outside of their showcase, they also announced some other things as well. They did reveal their Game Pass lineup. We'll get into that here in just a second. But first, they were very transparent about their future showcases. This was posted up on the Xbox Wire website, where they recapped yesterday's showcase, and all the way at the bottom, they noted this. Looking ahead, as we announced previously, in order to dedicate the proper amount of time for a deep dive into Bethesda Game Studios' Starfield, a standalone show is in the works. In addition to this, our teams are working hard and look forward to sharing even more of what is next for our fans when we return to Los Angeles for our yearly showcase this summer. So they are confirming 2 separate showcases here. That Starfield showcase, which I assume will happen here in the next couple of months, where we'll finally get that official release date. All eyes are currently on that and whether or not it will meet its first half of the year target. As I've said though, I mean, honestly, I'm not really concerned either way. As long as Starfield's a good game, that's really all I care about. But the new news here is that they essentially confirmed that they will have their usual yearly E3 showcase. I don't necessarily find this to be a huge surprise or anything like that, but there you have it. Confirmation is always nice, of course. So they will have a summer showcase, probably right around their usual time frame, which is typically June. And it also sounds like it will be a live in-person event, as they did specifically say that they're returning to Los Angeles. That, though, will be the next place where we get a look into their future lineup of games. I could see them doing something similar to what they did last year, where they just kind of focus on games releasing within the next 12 months. Pair that with Xbox Developer Directs, though, and I think that they do finally have a winning formula in terms of how they show and announce their future games. You get that one major event every year where they can really just kind of announce all of the new games coming, and then you have multiple smaller events where we can get deep dives into the gameplay, release dates, new details, and maybe a surprise game here and there. Now, as for Xbox Game Pass games, January has been kind of a strange month. They definitely didn't announce these games the way they typically do, and I almost feel like they kind of missed an opportunity yesterday, as they could have just revealed this lineup during the Xbox Developer Direct when all eyes were on them. But hey, nonetheless, they did quietly announce 9 new games, and then also another major Day 1 title got its release date as well, which is slated for February. More on that here in just a second, but for the first 9 games, you can see them here, which includes Grid Legends for cloud gaming, then Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition is finally heading over to Xbox consoles, 007 GoldenEye HD will finally be out, then you have Darkest Dungeon, Hot Wheels Unleashed, Hi-Fi Rush, Inkulinati, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure All-Star Battle R, and then last but not least, you have RoboQuest, which is heading to game preview on Xbox consoles. Now, this is actually a really solid lineup to end the month, and that's kind of the thing about January. Yes, it's been a little bit of a different month for Game Pass subscribers. They didn't announce these games the way they typically do, but the final 12 or so days have been absolutely stacked. I mean, we just got Persona 3, 4, and Monster Hunter Rise, and that continues here with Hi-Fi Rush just kind of coming out of nowhere, leading the charge. Now, of course, we talked about this game yesterday, but I wanted to talk a little bit more about it today, because what's happening with Hi-Fi Rush is quite impressive. I mean, Xbox just shadow launched this game, which is a first-party title, and apparently it was a perfect decision. Now, I said yesterday that I thought it stole the show at their Xbox Direct. I mean, right away. It was clear that this game looked amazing, but it became more and more clear throughout the day on just how much fans were interested in it. I mean, Hi-Fi Rush was trending on Twitter all day long, which shows you that a lot of fans were talking about it, but more so, it is right now the number 3 best-selling game on Steam. Again, this is a game that just kind of came out of nowhere, so that is highly, highly impressive, very unprecedented. But with all the fan chatter online and all the positive reactions, it's having immediate success. Now, actually, speaking of positive impressions, it also currently has 98% positive reviews on Steam, with 624 total reviews as of this recording. I played it myself last night as well, and I too came away impressed. It's really just a stunning game to watch in motion. Quite possibly one of the best looking games I've ever seen from an artistic point of view. I mean, it looks so good. It's got a fun protagonist, and it's honestly just quite simply fun to play. So really, I would say that Hi-Fi Rush is such a welcome surprise, and it also turned out to be a brilliant move to shadow launch this game. It completely bypassed critics, and with it directly launching into something like Xbox Game Pass, fans have been able to decide for themselves on whether or not they like it. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Apex Legends in that sense, where it just kind of came out of nowhere and the fans just latched onto it immediately. And in this case, it's been very clear. Fans are absolutely loving Hi-Fi Rush right now. Another game here to look forward to, though, is GoldenEye HD, which is releasing on January 27th. The revival of the Nintendo 64 classic is finally back, and depending on how you want to play this game, the Xbox version might be the way to go. It does support 16:9 4K resolution, an alternate control scheme for modern play, and it also will run at 60 frames per second. Unfortunately, though, online play will be exclusive to Nintendo Switch Online, so if you're looking for that, you might want to jump over there. But if you don't necessarily care about online play, the Xbox version will be the way to go. Age of Empires 2 is also finally heading over to Xbox consoles on January 31st. This is the legendary strategy game that fans have adored for decades, and now after the long, much anticipated wait, it is getting those optimizations for it to run on consoles with a controller setup. Now, we'll kind of see how well this is handled compared to the PC version, but this is yet another big day one launch title coming again on January 31st. Now, there was one more Xbox Game Pass announcement though, because Atomic Heart also got its official release date as well. It is officially slated to release on February 21st, really cementing next month with yet another major day one Game Pass title. Honestly, if anything, it looks like it has a lot of potential. It is a first-person shooter with some RPG elements set in an alternate Soviet era with killer robots, and I mean, just from a design standpoint, this game kind of looks insane. At the very least, I know a lot of fans have had their eye on this game. It definitely seems like there's some potential here, so there it is. It is slated for February 21st, and hopefully it turns out to be as good as it looks. All in all, though, I'd say that for you Game Pass subscribers out there, you have a lot to look forward to in the next 30 days. Now, one last topic I want to briefly cover is the idea of a Final Fantasy Origins sequel. This game released last year, developed by Team Ninja, and at the time it seemed to be a little polarizing. It has a 72 overall score on Metacritic, and one of its common complaints was with its dialogue that often came off as either a little bit edgy or just flat out cheesy. However, Tetsuya Nomura is now claiming that there could actually be a sequel depending on its popularity and how much fans actually want it. This was translated by Noisy Pixel, and as you can see here, he says, when Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin first came out, there was a lot of negative bashing, especially online. However, I'm pleased to say that everyone watching this live stream has grown very fond of Jack and his friends, so much so that some would love to see a sequel of the title. And if you do want that to happen, then it would certainly help if one person watching this spread the news to 10 other people. If word of mouth about the game spreads through the DLC's completion, proving that this is a title that has really resonated with everyone, there may be a time when we can meet again. I personally would love to work with Koei Tecmo again. So yeah, I am listening to exactly what he said. I am spreading the news. If you did enjoy Final Fantasy Origins, there is a slight chance that it could get a sequel sometime down the road. If anything, despite some of the dialogue, I have seen fans out there really enjoy its gameplay. And hey, it's kind of interesting to see Square Enix license an IP like Final Fantasy to see different takes on the beloved franchise. Let's go take a look at the poll of the day, though, where I asked you all, which version of the GoldenEye 007 re-release are you more interested in? This is something that has been much discussed online, but I really feel like both versions of this game kind of has their own benefits, and depending on what the player wants is where they're going to play. I definitely don't think that there is a clear-cut winner in either situation, but as you can see here, 60% of you all are looking to play the Xbox version with 4K HD visuals, whereas 13% want to play it on Nintendo Switch Online thanks to that online multiplayer. So there you have it. It does look like a lot of you all are more interested in those HD visuals for its single player and local multiplayer. That's also how I'm going to play it as well. I do have Xbox Game Pass as well as Rare Replay, so this is an easy game to just kind of jump into, and it's definitely going to be a blast from the past. And if I get the chance, I'll go ahead and boot its local multiplayer up and complain about screen watching when I get a group of people together and play. That is a part of the fun, though. Local multiplayer is kind of a missed art form. Nintendo has always really specialized at that with a lot of their games, but in this situation, Xbox will have a nice local multiplayer game as well. Either which way, though, I'm thrilled to see this game finally come back. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode. But if you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.